How's it going, everybody? Lampini here again, and today we are going to be reviewing Week 15 of the 2025 NFL season. We have 4 more weeks of football left to go, and the playoff picture is starting to heat up. Some teams, like my Commanders, it's officially mathematically over for them. Some other teams have a bit more hopes, but we're going to get right into it. So to go over Week 14, I did decently with my predictions. I was 8-6. I got a couple games wrong. For one thing, I had less faith in the Lions and more faith in the Cowboys than maybe I should have had because the Lions came in and demolished them. The Commanders lost out to the Vikings. More on that later. The Saints upset the Bucks. Titans beat the Browns. I mean, that's just the tank full of equal proportions. And the Texans beat the Chiefs, and the Steelers beat the Ravens. Those two teams, a lot to talk about with them. So for the season, I'm 135, 72, and 1. That one tie is really making my record a bit annoying to look at. But you know what? I'm not counting a tie as a loss. I'm counting it as a tie. NFL needs to fix their rules. But anyway, let's kick things off with Thursday Night Football. So for Thursday night, we have the Atlanta Falcons at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Not too much for the Falcons to play for. They're kind of like in the Commanders spot where they're just a terrible team. They got thrashed 37-9 by the Seattle Seahawks. This is more so a thing for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The Buccaneers started the season very, very strong, and they've started to really get hurt by injuries and really started to decline down the stretch in the second half of the season. They are now 7-6, which is a bit difficult because they now have the same record as the Carolina Panthers. They still have the number 4 seed, but they are in danger of losing their playoff spot to the Panthers. That game against the Saints was one that they frankly really, really needed to win. Baker didn't have a very good game either. He was 14 of 30 for 122 yards, a touchdown, a pick, and a 55.1 passer rating. The Buccaneers are a dead team walking right now, which is ironic because of the skull and crossbones that their logo is, but they are a dead team walking, desperately trying to hold on to the playoff hopes that they have. They snapped a 3-game losing streak, but by last week, and then they lost this one, so they've gone 1-4 the last 5 weeks. The Falcons aren't a very good team, but it's a divisional round matchup, and you never know what could happen. So saying that, I wouldn't be surprised if the Falcons upset them. But this is a game the Buccaneers have to win, and for that reason, I am going to go with Tampa. If they lose to the Falcons, there's no chance they're getting back into the playoffs. Like, that's it for them. Like, they're done. And the Panthers will have their first playoff spot, I want to say since 2017, I think, back when Cam Newton was their quarterback. So new things happening with the Panthers. Very exciting stuff. We'll talk about them a little bit later. But I'm going with the Bucks. Next up, we have the Washington Commanders at the New York Giants. I looked this up. The Commanders are losing this game will put them at the number 1 overall draft pick. I mean, they lost 31-0 against the Vikings, and there's not much that I can really say about this game. It's weird because they played a great game against the Broncos. They had a chance to win the game. They had a chance to beat the Dolphins as well. Those are 2 games we could have won. Helps our draft stock that we didn't win, but I don't know what happened with this Vikings game. It's just one of these things where it's a total calamity. Jaden Daniels did not look good. He honestly looked scared. Yeah, I think he needs a mental and physical reset at this point. I thought that getting him out there and playing was going to help with reps. I'm not too sure about that anymore. He is a second-year quarterback. Anytime he gets on the field, it's going to improve. I think his elbow is still sore, and I think that's like the big problem. Dan Quinn said that Jaden could have gone back into the game. His elbow was probably just like a little hurt, a little sore, but I think that he's shell-shocked from the season, and I think he just needs a hard reset for next year. I think that he's still our quarterback. I think that when things keep getting bad like this, things just kind of pile on each other, and it just doesn't look great. I mean, again, it's kind of like the Rams the year after they won the Super Bowl, and a lot of other times teams have had injury-riddled seasons where there's just no coming back from it, and that's what's happened here. I mean, it's really weird because we were a 4-win team in 23, 12 wins in 24, and now a 3, maybe 4-win team in 2025. So those 2 4-win seasons are sandwiched between a conference championship appearance, which is a very, very interesting stat line that you don't really see very often. So next year will really be the big deciding factor to see if last year was a fluke. I think that we were a good team last year. I think we did steal a couple victories that got us to 12 wins, and we had a very strong playoff showing. So we hit our absolute ceiling last year, but I do genuinely think we're still a 10-win team. And if we have a high draft pick, who knows what we can do with that. It hurts when you're so injury riddled as well. So we'll wait and see what happens. As for the Giants, they're coming off the bye, got crushed by the Patriots. If there's one team more embarrassing than us, it's the Giants. I would like to see us win, but I mean, if we lose, we have a chance of getting the number 1 overall pick, which is only going to help us. So I don't really know, but I am going to go with the Commanders. I want them to win. Like, just get some kind of positivity going out of the season, beating the Giants, because you can't losing to the Giants is just going to be even more embarrassing than anything else. So I'm going with the Commanders. I still think they're going to win. Next up, we have the Cleveland Browns at the Chicago Bears. Both teams are coming off of losses here. The Bears lost to the Green Bay Packers 28-21, and that's pretty much what I expected from the game. One thing that I think is crazy about the Bears is if you look at their point differential right here, they are 10-4. What's their record? They're 9-4, but they have a negative point differential. So that to me says that they're winning close games, getting blown out when they lose. This is what I expected. I think the Bears are having a Commanders type season where they have a weak strength of schedule. They're beating bad teams because they are a good team, but when they come against an actual playoff contender like the Green Bay Packers, they fold. Caleb Williams was 19 of 35 for 186 yards, 2 touchdowns, an interception, and a 76.6 passer rating. So not a very good game there. You know, it is what it is. The Bears lost. It's kind of to be expected, but they have more or less clinched a playoff spot. I guess, especially when they go against a team like the Browns, they should win this no problem, and I am going to go with the Browns, with the Bears. But I am going to talk about the Browns for a little bit because even though they lost, Shedeur Sanders had another good game. He was 23 of 42 for 364 yards, 3 touchdowns, an interception, and a 97.7 passer rating. So Shedeur Sanders has played surprisingly well now that he's on the field, and you see the comparison between him and Dylan Gabriel. Shedeur Sanders is showing that he has legitimate talent. What's crazy about that is Deshaun Watson is gearing up to come back. And I think if he does, the Browns are going to play him, which I think just boggles the mind. You got to stick with the young, hot quarterback and just cut your losses with Deshaun Watson. We'll wait and see what happens going into the end of the year and maybe into next year, but I read places saying that they're going to try and get Deshaun Watson on the field and recoup some kind of the investment that they had. I don't really know. All-time just embarrassment there, though. But I'm going with the Bears are going to win. Next up, we have the Baltimore Ravens at the Cincinnati Bengals. Both teams are coming off of losses, but in very different fashions. The one thing that I will say, what a difference having Joe Burrow on the Bengals roster does. You know, last year, Joe Burrow played his heart out and had an MVP caliber season, and the Bengals were only 8-9, I think, 9-8. Well, I mean, you do this against the Bills. Like, Joe Burrow, I think, has surpassed Josh Allen as most valuable player relative to the team themselves. Because when the Bengals don't have Joe Burrow, they're worthless, they're useless, they're directionless. But when Joe Burrow is there, they can do it against a very strong Bills team. Joe Burrow was 25 of 36 for 284 yards, 4 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, 106.7 passer rating. T. Higgins, 6 receptions, 92 yards, and 2 touchdowns. So the Bengals still running on all cylinders when Joe Burrow is playing. And I think that all the times I was saying that the Bengals are always going to be nothing, even with Joe Burrow, I'm starting to reconsider my thoughts here because the night and day difference when they have Joe Burrow is really becoming a lot more pronounced because they were 2-0 with him, and then they beat the Ravens last week, and they gave the Bills a run for their money. So, like, at home even. So it's really, really crazy what they're able to do. What I'm getting at is the Bengals are going to be a real threat against the Ravens. The Ravens lost out to the Steelers 27-22. Ravens are now 6-7. The Steelers now have control of the division once again. And Lamar Jackson, again, with not a very good game. 19 of 35, 219 yards, a touchdown, an interception, a 71 passer rating. I think Lamar Jackson still isn't fully recovered from his hamstring injury. And I think that if the Ravens miss the playoffs, they really need to enter a new era and get rid of John Harbaugh. Because, like, ever since 2019, they have been floundering. You look at the Lamar Jackson era in Baltimore from 2019 to now. I'll put the picture up right there. Regular season, they've been phenomenal. You're looking at 2 times they've had a positive 200-point differential. 2023 probably was their best chance to win the Super Bowl when they lost in the conference championship to the Chiefs. They looked like the best team in the league. No one took them seriously because they're the Ravens and they choked in the playoffs. And then last year, they lost in a very tight game to the Bills, barely coming up short. It looks like they're running out of steam here. This is a game that they need to win because every loss puts them further and further behind. There's no way they're making the wild card. Their only chance is to take the division from the Steelers. And they are really, really going to need something here because that loss was very, very catastrophic. I know there's a lot to say about the Isaiah Likely non-touchdown where they said he didn't make a football move and he took 2 steps and then they swatted it free. It's interesting because if that's in the open field, is that a catch and fumble or is it an interception or a fumble or an incomplete pass? You know what I mean? So very, very controversial call for sure. And like, I get where people are coming from where he has his 2 steps and then a millisecond from the 3rd step, they swat the ball out. It's one of those things where it's like, he holds on to that ball for another 1/10 of a second and it's called a touchdown swatted free. Very brutal call. But the Steelers have not been a very good team either. So like, I don't know how much this really says about the Ravens as a whole. It's tough because the Bengals are playing well now that they have Joe Burrow, but I think the Ravens are going to recoup, and I think that they are going to defeat their divisional rival, especially because they lost to them earlier. And it's very, very unlikely that a divisional round team, a division team, clean sweeps somebody, especially a team as good as the Ravens. I'm going to go with the Ravens. I think they are going to right the ship here, and it's a mad dash for the Ravens to make the playoffs here. They really need it. I'm going with the Ravens, though. I do think they're going to pull it out and win. Next up, we have the Los Angeles Chargers at the Kansas City Chiefs. The Chargers had a solid victory against the Philadelphia Eagles 22-19, where they forced 4 interceptions on Jalen Hurts. Justin Herbert, 12 of 26 for 139 yards, a touchdown, a pick, a 59.6 passer rating. Not a great showing by Justin Herbert. But saying that, they are still 9-4, and they're still comfortably in the playoff picture as the number 5 seed. As for the Chiefs are now 6-7. They lost a must-win game against the Houston Texans, and it might be over. Not for the Chiefs dynasty for this season. A lot of people are very premature saying that the Chiefs dynasty is over. Their incredible conference championship 7-year streak is over, but I don't think the Chiefs are over yet. What they need to do is fire Matt Nagy and get a new offensive coordinator in there for one, because that is the one thing they're struggling with the most. But probably one of Mahomes' worst games of his career, 14 of 33 for 160 yards, 3 interceptions, and a 19.8 passer rating. Yes, a 19.8 passer rating. Very bad showing by Mahomes. They just got flat out beat. I mean, they look good sometimes, but they barely beat the Colts in overtime, and that's the only significant win that they've had recently. And they've been on losing streak since then, so they're really starting to falter. All the luck they had has worn off in terms of like the 1-score games. They're still dangerous if they make it to the playoffs, but they do not look like a playoff caliber team. I'm going with the Chargers on this one. The Chargers are officially going to put the dagger in the Chiefs' playoff hopes on Monday. That's what's going to happen. It's kind of sad because I'm not going to lie, I do like the Chiefs. I don't like them in the Super Bowl every year, but I do like Mahomes. I do like Andy Reid. And I like watching history. I would like, I don't really know. So we'll wait and see. But anyway, I'm going with the Chargers on this one. Next up, we have the Buffalo Bills at the New England Patriots. So the Patriots are coming off of a bye where they beat the Giants 33-15. The Bills beat the Bengals in a 39-34 thriller in the snow. This is going to be a very telling game for both teams. Josh Allen, 22 of 28, 251 yards, 3 touchdowns, 139.7 passer rating. He also rushed on the ground for a touchdown. Great showing there by Josh Allen, one of his best games of the season. Drake May, 24-31, 282 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 126 passer rating. Here's what I have to say about the Patriots. Patriots are extremely good. They, I believe, they're 11-2. They're the number 2 seed. I know there was talk about their strength of schedule being very easy. I didn't realize it was this easy. So take a look at the strength of schedule for the entire NFL. This is the Patriots at the very bottom. And not only are they at the very bottom, they're in the very bottom by a considerable margin. Look at the difference here. So are the Patriots a good team? Yes, but they have benefited greatly from a very, very tough, very, very easy schedule. So this game against the Bills, I think, is going to be very, very telling for them. I know they already beat the Bills, but the Bills are coming off of a very strong win. They have more experience in being a successful team. This will be very telling to see where the Patriots are as a team, as well as how they will fare in the playoffs with this game against the Bills. With the weakness of the strength of schedule and how the Bills had a great game against the Bengals, I actually am going to go with the Bills on this one. I think that they're getting things right at the perfect time, and I actually think that they are going to win. So I'm going with the Bills. Next up, we have the Las Vegas Raiders at the Philadelphia Eagles. I don't have much to say about this one. The Raiders are enhancement talent. I'm going with the Eagles, but one of Jalen Hurts' worst games of his career, he was 21 of 40 for 240 yards, 4 interceptions, and a 31.2 passer rating. Cracks again starting to form with the Eagles offense. Turning the ball over 4 times is not good. Jalen Hurts even turned the ball over twice in one play where he threw an interception and there was a fumble, or he fumbled it, picked it up, fumbled it again, and then the Chargers got it. So Eagles looking very, very beatable. They're now 8-5. They are still very in control of their division. I don't think the Cowboys are going to really leapfrog them unless the Eagles really just do a nosedive, but they've lost 3 of their last 4. And they need this victory against the Raiders. If they lose to the Raiders of all teams, then light the panic alarms, because if you lose to the Raiders, you're in some big trouble. But I do think they're going to win. I'm going with the Eagles. Next up, we have the Jacksonville Jaguars at the New York Jets. Not much to say about this one either. Brady Cook played for the Jets. That's all you need to know. The Jaguars thrashed the Colts 36-19. Trevor Lawrence with a good game. 17 of 30 for 244 yards, 2 touchdowns, a 105.4 passer rating. The Jaguars are one of these teams where we're very interested to see what they do in the playoffs, because we don't really know if they're for real. So it's going to be very interesting to see how they do. But they're going to beat the Jaguars. They're going to beat the Jets. I mean, are you kidding me? If the Jaguars lose to the Jets, that's a serious issue. So I'm going with the Jaguars. They're going to win. It's going to be a pretty easy victory for them as well. Next up, we have the Arizona Cardinals at the Houston Texans. Again, I don't really have much to say about this one either, because the Cardinals are enhancement talent. They got crushed by the Rams 45-17. They're kind of in the same situation as the Dolphins, the Jets, the Commanders, where this has just been a lost season for them. They need to move forward to another quarterback, unlike the Commanders, but like the Jets and the Dolphins. So, the Texans are going to win. The Texans have looked very good as of late. They have now leapfrogged into the number 7 seed at 8-5. And out of those 3 wildcard teams, Chiefs, Texans, and Ravens, the Texans have looked the best, and they have rightfully gained a spot back in the playoffs. They could give Jaguars a run for their money for the division. Don't really know yet. We'll wait and see. If the Jaguars mess up and lose a game, they should win. But, this is going to be a pretty big cakewalk game for the Texans, I think. They should win, and they should win pretty easily. I'm going with the Texans. Now, next up, we have the Green Bay Packers at the Denver Broncos. The Packers are the number 2 seed at 9-3-1. They're looking like one of the best teams in the NFL right now. The Broncos are the number 1 seed at 11-2, although I'm not very convinced that, their abilities. They always find ways to win, so I will give them that. But, it was 24-17 against the Raiders, and we almost beat them last week. So not exactly convinced, but they are still winning football games. I am going to go with the Packers, though. I think they've looked a lot stronger, and I think this will be a very good indication that the Broncos actually aren't that great, and that the Green Bay Packers are, and that they should be looked out for, because I could see them being a dark horse Super Bowl contender here, the Green Bay Packers. I'm going with the Packers. I think they're going to win. Now, this next game is a real heavyweight contest. We have the Detroit Lions at the Los Angeles Rams. So the Lions are 8-5. They need to win this game. The Rams are 10-3, and I think they're the best team in the NFL. They bounced back very well against their loss against the Panthers and did what they did best and crushed an inferior opponent 45-17. Matt Stafford is back, 22 of 31 for 281 yards, 3 touchdowns, and a 131.2 passer rating. Further cementing himself as the MVP frontrunner between him and Drake May. Puka Nacua, 7 receptions for 167 yards and 2 receiving touchdowns. And then Blake Corum, 12 carries, 128 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Rams are operating on all cylinders. Like I said before, they have a strong offense and just as strong of a defense. They look really good. The Lions, they beat the Cowboys 44-30. They really showed up in that game, and I was very, very impressed with the amount of effort and what they showed on there. It's very difficult because the wild card picture for the NFC is a lot more difficult than the AFC because the Lions are 8-5, right? You have the 8-5 Eagles and the 7-6 Buccaneers. The Lions are better than both those teams. You have the 9-4 Bears, 9-4 49ers, and 10-3 Seahawks in the playoff picture. And like 49ers are good. The Bears are good, and I think they've done enough that they're going to limp into the playoffs. I mean, they're playing the Browns, for crying out loud. They can't afford to lose that game. So I think the Lions are in big, big trouble of missing the playoffs just because they're just not going to be the best wild card team. It'd be a huge upset if the Lions managed to beat the Rams. I am going with the Rams. But if the Lions win this game, I actually think we should really watch out for them because they beat the best team in the NFL, basically. And that could be very, very telling. So I am going with the Rams, though. I do think they're going to win. It's going to be a great game. And if you can watch it, go out of your way to watch this game. Next up, we have the Carolina Panthers at the New Orleans Saints. As stated previously, the Panthers are 7-6, and they upset the Rams in a huge game coming off of their bye. Bryce Young was 15 of 20 for 206 yards and 3 passing touchdowns for 147.1 passer rating, no interceptions. Huge game there by the Panthers, and they're going against a bad team in the Saints. This is a layup game for them to improve to 8-6 and maybe take the division from the Buccaneers. I'm going with the Panthers on this one. They might actually backdoor themselves into a playoff picture, and it's going to be very interesting because if they're the number 4 seed, they're going to be going against the number 3 seed, which is the Seattle Seahawks, which may not end very well for them. But saying that, they got through the tough David Tepper early growing pains, and it seems like they're on their way to brighter pastures. So we'll wait and see what happens. I'm going with the Panthers. Next up, we have the Tennessee Titans at the San Francisco 49ers. 49ers are also coming off of a bye where they beat the Browns 26-8. They're a solid playoff team right now, and I don't see them losing to the Titans, who incidentally got their second win of the season, which is great. Tony Pollard had a great game. I just want to highlight him. 25 carries for 161 yards and 2 rushing touchdowns. Very, very impressive showing by him. But they're not going to win. The 49ers are going to win. They're going to crush them. They need to stay in the playoff race right now because the Lions are nipping at any team's heels that manages to slip up a little bit here. So I am going to go with the 49ers. I think they're going to win. Next up, we have the Indianapolis Colts at the Seattle Seahawks. What a difference a couple weeks make for the Colts. The Colts have been on a tailspin the last couple weeks. They went from 7-1 to 8-5. So they've been 1-4 the last 5 weeks, and they're in a full-on tailspin now that Daniel Jones has torn his Achilles. How horrible must it be to be a Colts fan right now where you've had this QB carousel for 5, 6, 7 years ever since Andrew Luck retired. You think you finally have your Sam Darnold, Geno Smith type quarterback in Daniel Jones, who you gave another chance after the Giants destroyed him. He was playing well for you guys, and now he tears his Achilles. Oh boy, you can't make this stuff up. I think that they will have him on next year, but what a painful way to go. The fall has been steep and it's been deadly because they were 7-1. They had the number 1 seed, and now they're out of the playoff picture, and they're in a full-on tailspin. And it's not going to get any better against the Seattle Seahawks, who I also think are a wild card or a dark horse for the Super Bowl. They have been solid. They've been dependable. They've been very, very good. I think they have the highest point differential in the NFL right now. And I wouldn't be surprised if the Seahawks managed to jump into the Super Bowl and surprise some people there. They look really good. I'm going with the Seahawks, and the Colts downward spiral continues. Next up, we have the Minnesota Vikings at the Dallas Cowboys. This is a pretty irrelevant game since neither team is going anywhere. J.J. McCarthy had a great game. I'm not going to dignify him with going over his stats because, I don't want to. He's not good. He had a great game, but no. I refuse. So saying that, I'm going to go with the Cowboys, though. I think they're going to win, and they will make things interesting for the Eagles, but I really don't think that it's really going to happen for them. I'm going with the Cowboys. I'm going to win. I don't think they're going to make the playoffs, but they're going to make it interesting and maybe hurt their draft stock a little bit, but I'm going with Cowboys. I think they're going to beat the Vikings. So now we come to the final game. Monday night, we have the Miami Dolphins at the Pittsburgh Steelers. Steelers are getting very, very lucky that they're facing a team like the Dolphins now at home. They had a good win against the Ravens. People were saying that it may have been rock bottom for them after they lost in the way they did to the Bills. But if there's one thing the Steelers I've noticed have always done, it's bounce back from bad losses. That's what's kind of kept them in this purgatory for as long as it has, but I digress. They beat the Ravens. They did it in impressive showing. DK Metcalf, 7 receptions for 148 receiving yards. Aaron Rodgers, 23 of 34 for 284 yards and a passing touchdown and 103.1 passer rating. He also rushed for a touchdown as well. It is going to be an interesting game for sure because the Dolphins are actually 6-7 and have been on somewhat of a winning streak recently. So if the Steelers end up losing this game, they'll at least lost a somewhat decent team. But I don't know. This is a game the Steelers need to win to stay in control of their destiny. The Ravens are playing a tough game against the Bengals, and if they manage to lose that game and the Steelers win this game, they'll be 2 games ahead of the Ravens. You can kiss the Ravens' playoff hopes goodbye. So we will wait and see what happens, but this is a very losable game for the Steelers, but I am still going with them, though. I do think they're going to win. All right, so now the moment we've all been waiting for, we are going to go over the playoff picture. Boom. So this is kind of where the excitement comes, where we see who's still relevant and where things can go. We're starting off with the NFC here. You can see the number 1 seed is still the Los Angeles Rams. Despite their loss to the Panthers, I still think they're the best team in the league right now. Rightful number 1 seeds. Packers are number 2 at 9-3-1. They've had some off games here and there, but I think for the most part, they've been incredibly consistent and incredibly strong as well. The Eagles and the Buccaneers are 8-5 and 7-6 respectively at 3 and 4 seeds respectively. And the Eagles, but neither team has looked good, to be honest. They've both been on losing streaks. They both did very well early on in the season and are starting to fade in the second half of the season, which is exactly what you don't want to see happen. Like, I could see the 49ers and Seahawks both beating the Eagles and the Buccaneers, but even still, they're still in it. We'll talk about who's going to pursue them later. And then in the wild card picture, we have the 10-3 Seahawks at number 5, the 9-4 49ers, and the 9-4 Bears. 49ers look good. The Bears have been questionable, suspect. They're going to beat the Browns this week, so it will inflate their record just a little bit. But, you know, if they go against the Packers again, right, they're a wild card exit. I think they're going to lose, right? So that's kind of the difficult thing with when you have an easy schedule and that kind of caliber stuff. When we go into the hunt, there's pretty much 3 teams right now that are fighting for it. The Detroit Lions at 8-5. They are probably the only team fighting for a wild card spot. They have a chance to do that. They just need to, they control their own destiny more or less and just need to win out. Then we have the Carolina Panthers at 7-6. They have the same record as the Buccaneers. A win by the Panthers and a loss for the Buccaneers leapfrogs the Panthers into the number 4 seed, which is very exciting for them. Cowboys are 6-1. I mean, they can win. They can take the division from the Eagles if the Eagles continue to tailspin and the Cowboys continue to win games. But again, I don't really see much damage coming from them. After they lost to the Lions, they kind of got exposed and their little hot streak ended. But it could happen. I wouldn't really be surprised with how the Eagles have been playing recently. But right now, that's your NFC playoff picture. Now we go to the AFC. Bam! So the number 1 seed Broncos are 11-2. They can control the number 1 seed. But honestly, in the AFC, I really don't see any strong candidates here. The Patriots have been doing well, but they've had a very, very easy schedule, as previously mentioned. The Jaguars are 9-4. They actually have looked good, the Jaguars. It's going to remain to be seen if they can continue this success in the playoffs, though. But, you know, they're going against the Bills. That will be a great game, a great toss-up. The Steelers are 7-6, where they are hot one game and they're sour the next. I kind of see the same thing going for them. They're going to fall off near the end of the season and get blown out in the wild card. I don't really see that destiny changing for them. The wild card, a lot can happen here. The Chargers have been a very strong, dependable, and consistent team. And then saying that, same goes for the Bills at 9-4. They're the same Bills they've always been. The Patriots have just done extremely well this year to take the division from them. But we will see how the Bills do against the Patriots this week. There'll be a game out of first place with the Patriots if they manage to win that game. And then the Texans coming in at the number 7 seed is peaking at the perfect time. They look really, really good, and I wouldn't be surprised if they got some upsets in the postseason with how strong their defense has been and with their offense starting to regain some momentum here. As we go into in the hunt here, there's 3 teams, well, 4 technically, that are still alive. The Colts are 8-5. I know they have the best record, but they're in a tailspin right now. They are, you know, they're as good as gone, basically. The Ravens are 6-7. I think out of all the in the hunt teams, they have the best chance. They need a win and they need a Steelers loss. They cannot afford to lose again, and the Steelers win. They'll be 2 games out of first place, and then it gets even more and more small for the Ravens' chance to make the playoffs. So they need to win, and winning just keeps their hopes alive, but they need a little bit of help with the if the Steelers end up losing. The Chiefs and the Dolphins are both 6-7, and they are in a very similar position where they need one of those three wildcard teams, Chargers, Bills, or Texans, to go into an absolute tailspin, and they need to go on a huge winning streak to backdoor themselves into the playoffs. I think it's going to be unlikely for both of them. Very heartbreaking when it comes to the Chiefs because people really thought they had a chance, but it's not looking good for them. Right now, I don't really see a lot of movement at this stage. The only movement I can really see is between the seedings and if the Lions manage to find a way to get into the playoffs, because I do think they are a legitimately good team. They've lost some games they frankly should have won, and they're in a very difficult division as well. So that's really hurt them. I think they are a good team, and I think they are a playoff team. Like I said, they're certainly better than the Eagles and the Buccaneers and the Steelers for that matter. So we'll see if they manage to get themselves into the playoffs, because if they do, it's going to be very dangerous. So that concludes week 15, guys. I've been Lampini. We're almost done with the NFL season, and we are right around the corner for playoff football. I'll catch you guys later.